Cloudcast Media. Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, and I'm with a colleague of mine who does shows for Cloudcast as well, and among other things, and that is Tara Shah. She is the CEO and founder of T-School. Very proud UGA graduate. That's the University of Georgia, for you folks who don't know that. Is that correct? You didn't go to UGA?
You just mispronounced my name.
Well, and your name is?
Tara.
Tara, thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to have to dock Charles Parisi's pay on this one over here. Very good. So talk about T-School. What is it all about?
T-School is a bar prep course. So for students who are, or even lawyers who are preparing to become a lawyer here in California, you have to take the bar exam. So T-School does prepare students to pass, hopefully, on their first try.
Did you pass on yours?
I did.
Okay. And what was the magic sauce?
Honestly, you got to put in 7 days a week, 8 to 10 hours a day for 8 weeks. There's no shortcuts. I know everybody likes to take shortcuts, but I didn't. None of my friends did. It's just you had to put in the work.
So, I mean, are you studying, because the bar will hit all types of law, con law, all that, contracts, all over the board, correct?
Yes, you are responsible for a variety of subjects, 15 topics in total in California. Other states have similar subjects as well. The UBE state, Uniform Bar Exam states have similar subjects as well, but you are responsible for a set amount of topics. Right.
So, and will all 15 topics be part of the bar exam or not necessarily?
Not necessarily. So there's a multiple choice component of it, which does have a guaranteed 25 questions per topic for a list of topics. And then there's additional topics that could be tested on the written component of it.
Right, exactly. So how much of, I've not taken the bar exam, which is quite, did do the GRE, which damn near killed me. But how many of the questions are multiple choice, or are they all written like narrative?
No, the bar exam is comprised of 3 components. You have the multiple choice, there's 200 of them. You also had the essay portion of it. There's 5 one-hour essay questions. And then you have the practicum portion of it, which is where you're given a closed universe library and set of facts in a file, and they give you an assignment, like a memorandum of points and authorities, legal brief, letter to client, those kinds of things. Right. And so how long does that, the whole thing is how long, how many hours you said? Well, the bar exam's 2 days. It used to be 3 when I took it. Okay, now it's down to 2.
Right.
It's 2 days.
Right. And do they break it into, you do the multiple choice and, the essays on one day and then the practicum on the second day? How does that work?
Sure. On day 1, you're going to do all 5 of your essays and the practicum component of it. And then on day 2, you did the multiple choice.
Right. Now, are most of the people that are taking that exam poli-sci majors? It used to be back in the day, if you're a poli-sci major, that is the route to get to be a lawyer. Obviously, you can do any type of major before you take the bar exam or go through the law school and stuff like that.
Right. So when you're talking about majors, undergrad, law school, there's no majors in law school. There's focuses.
Right.
But nowadays, there's a variety of, I could say, undergraduate degrees that law schools are looking for. It used to be poli-sci, but that really is no more. They look for more technical stuff, math. There's just a whole new world. So, there's a preference, not necessarily just for poli-sci, but just for a variety of other types of degrees now.
Right, we're talking to Tara Shah. She is the CEO and founder of T-School. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. What was your emphasis or what thing did you like study the most in law school? And then what are you doing most as a lawyer?
Well, I think in law school, I have to say, I was young. I went straight through undergrad to law school. Didn't even think twice. And I just I'm going straight on to law school. Right. So I think I was still trying to mature a little bit and grow up. I loved the camaraderie. I loved my professors. I didn't have any particular focus at the time. I didn't even have a particular area of law I was interested in necessarily going into. And what I find is most of my friends started out going, oh, I want to be a criminal law lawyer or sports lawyer or whatever. And then by the end, they've totally changed their mind, once you actually get into it. So I worked at many law firms before law school, like in high school, college. So I kind of saw a variety, and I was more open-minded, I suppose, to what I could do. But I kind of liked it all, to be honest.
Is that right? So one of my favorite movies is The Paper Chase with John Houseman. And I actually took a mass media law school when I was getting my master's at San Diego State. And I love mass media law, con law and all that business stuff, Times versus Hill, Times versus, all that stuff, of course. And the guy taught it very similar to how Paper Chase was. He'd sit there and say, pull out two students, and you got the plaintiff, you've got the defendant, and do X, Y, and Z. Is that exactly how law school was? It depends on the class, I imagine, right?
I think of law school as kind of like a machine. People go into it being one way, and they come out thinking and looking at the world totally different. You sort of question everything. You think about all possible scenarios,
right.
And you also think about what's the line between, what's the gray area? How can you best argue things? It's just the way they train you to think that way. So you go in there, and they this is, lay people. They can go on Google and look up the law, right? But lawyers actually know in practice that you got to go into Westlaw, LexisNexis, all the databases, and you got to look at all the cases that have interpreted that law and where it stands today. So.
Right. Now, did you do a lot of trial law? Have you do trial law? No.
I actually used to work at an insurance defense firm a long time ago. Now I do at another firm. But it's all defense litigation. I actually just kind of stay in the background and do the extra work now.
Right. You like that better?
Well, it's mainly because I've been in bar prep for so long. I took a big break. And so going back into it has been exciting, but I still have my bar prep as the focus. So I really just don't have time to do both. And being an actual trial lawyer it's a lot of work, a lot of hours.
Yeah. No kidding. I'm Drew Schlosberg, and you're listening to Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community on Cloudcast Media, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing great things to San Diego for over 30 years. We're talking to Tara Shah. She's the CEO of and founder of T-School. What makes your T-School unique? How do you differentiate it from other bar prep exams, programs or organizations or companies?
Oh, good question. Being in the bar prep business is kind of a niche profession, right? And once you're in it for so long, you start to hear all the same questions over and over. You really understand where people struggle, where students struggle, where sort of the gaps are. Traditional bar prep companies, they are full service bar prep companies, which they are all great. Not saying anything about any of them. Right. But it's kind of like a fast bullet train you're on. You get into bar prep and it's like, by the 7th day, you're already on the 4th subject. And so if it's something that you didn't have in law school, because not everyone gets to take every single subject in law school that's on the bar exam. So there's always going to be a couple you may not have any sort of, prior experience with. But if you come into one of those topics like, I didn't have con law 2, I had con law 1, maybe not con law 2 or something, and they're covering all these things like free speech, maybe I didn't cover, you feel like a day to learn all that is not enough, right? And so it's tough, and people feel like it goes really fast. So the better you did in school, the more bar, courses you had, or bar subjects you took in school, I guess you could say, the easier, I don't say easier, but it doesn't feel as fast. But I feel in all my years of experience, one thing I get to see is when students don't pass in California, they get their results back, but no marks on them. If you pass, you never know your score, you just pass, right? But if you don't, you get back your written work. I always get to look at it. I see what their score was. And by looking at maybe 100 or more, we used to call them blue books, because they were actually written in blue books. Now they're like print paper. After looking at everyone's answers, I get the full sort of big picture of how this essay was calibrated scoring-wise. I take that knowledge and I put it into my materials. So I focus more on just getting it through the bar prep. Honestly, traditional bar prep courses are trying to teach you the law and refresh you on the law, I guess you could say is the right way of putting it. I come into it thinking, you just want to pass this exam. I'm not trying to teach you new law. I want you to understand what you need to know for the exam.
Right.
So I take... And let me say one more thing. The way you learn law isn't necessarily the way you write about it, right, in these bar essays. So I kind of bridge that gap between learning and writing about it. And I think that's probably one of the biggest, points of feedback that I get when it comes to positive feedback is that, wow, you really bridged that gap, right? So instead of like, I can read 3 pages on one issue and you kind of narrow down the need to know to like a paragraph. And I'm like, it's not always that simple. You do have to have, it's not just memorization. There is some level of really understanding it in order to do well in it. But I do try to bridge that gap as best I can. So I feel like that's what makes T-School unique.
Right. But also you tie in the body, do you not?
I'm sorry, what?
Do you tie in the body? You doing yoga?
Yes. Oh, yes. So I have, I do not have a degree in psychology or psychiatry, but I feel like I have earned one over the 20 years I've been doing this, right? Because you just deal with people, I hate to say this, but bar students, I was not an a-hole, but a lot of them are, and they don't mean to be, right? And when I worked for a massive commercial bar prep course, and you get hundreds of people in, and it only takes 1% that's in a bad mood, but they are all in their worst state of mind. You just feel the weight of the world on your shoulders. You want to pass, and you wake up in a bad mood, and you go to sleep in a bad mood. I was not like that. My friends and I were like, let's get a nightcap. It's 10:30 before we wake up and rinse and repeat for the next, 8 weeks. So we were kind of okay, but there were days when people had their off days, but they're not always as nice. So and sometimes people, especially the people who are like top 1%, sometimes they crack. They start to question themselves, especially during bar prep, because you're around everyone else's stress. Like you feel it, So I felt with my course, I really want to do something, and no one else is doing this. And I'm familiar with every bar prep course out there. I introduced something for the mind and body. So I worked with Your Beauty Yoga. They are in La Jolla. They are really, really good at what they do, professionals. And so I have yoga, little study, I call them study breaks. I call it the T-School Study Break Studio. There's 10-minute yoga. I also do some power meditation that's more focused on getting your mind set to be efficient and to be ready and open to learning. So no other courses doing that. I was excited to introduce that to it, and I've had a lot of positive feedback from it.
So when COVID hit, were you doing all your bar prep online, I take it?
Yes. So T-School is 100% online.
Gotcha. So when you do your yoga, you see all these different people. How many people are in one of your classes?
Well, no. So they're pre-recorded, and I build the study breaks into the session.
Okay,
the schedule. So you have a daily study schedule. I'll tell you what to do from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed, including your yoga and meditation sessions.
Right. Exactly. All right. Good. So, and the feedback from them is that was a very important part of the bar prep.
Yeah, and it's only 10 minutes. I mean, I know that when you're studying, 10 minutes feels like it's a lot of time, so I try to keep them short, but I feel like it makes a big difference, yeah.
Right. We come back from break. Tara, let's talk a little more about your school, of course. Maybe what was your inspiration to become a lawyer, okay? Where do you see yourself maybe 5-10 years? Do you still doing this? Do you want to go into something else? Have you given any thought about it? Have to talk about UGA, of course, and how the Bulldogs are going to do this year. Obviously, national champions. Congratulations, by the way. Defending national champions, I should say, in that aspect. And then, more importantly, we always save time in the second half of the show, Tara, for what our listeners can do to support your efforts. Okay.
All right, thank you.
You bet. We're going to be right back with Tara Shah, CEO and founder of T-School. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, and you've been listening to Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community on Cloudcast Media, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for more than 60 years.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg, and you've been listening to Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community show on Cloudcast Media, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, doing terrific things in San Diego for more than 60 years, chatting with Tara Shah, CEO and founder of T School, a bar exam preparation company. So what inspired you to get into law?
Funny story. When I was in elementary school, there used to be a show, I'm going to date myself, called LA Law.
That's a great show.
It was a great show.
It was.
And I just remember watching those people thinking, wow, they are just so smart. I want to be a lawyer as well. I want to do what they're doing. Obviously, that was TV. But I think I had my mind set on that. And then I just started getting into books and watching more TV shows and just learning more about lawyers. And I didn't even know at the time when I was little, until a little bit later, that my grandfather on my dad's side, he died when I was very young. So I did not know him as well as my grandfather on my mother's side. But he was a lawyer in India back in British Parliament days.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So that inspired you. LA Law inspired. There were some great shows. I'm not going to date myself because I'm 105 years older than you, but there was a show called Perry Mason. But I was too young for Perry Mason, I will say that, and so forth. So there are great shows. And I think, it's interesting, in my opinion at least, I think everybody's interested a little bit in how lawyers work, what goes on in the courtroom. People are always fascinated how, law enforcement works too. There's enough shows on that. But same thing with law. And I was, always fascinated by it because there's so much. I'm a journalist by trade. And that lawyers and journalists are very similar in a lot of ways. They ask a million questions. They have to get the right answer. They're not going to publish something that's not the best they can. You guys can't afford to have wrong information. You can be shot out of there in 5 seconds. So, would you say that one of the skill sets of a lawyer is just great attention to detail?
Yes.
Yeah, and just laser beamed on that, correct?
I would say so. It's easy to get lost through the forest for the trees sometimes, right? But it is good to, yes, you do need to pay attention to detail for sure. Right,
exactly. Because anything you're going to present obviously can backfire you, whether you're in a court or whether you're preparing briefs, whatever the case may be. And, that was one thing that was drilled into our head, as journalists, is that pay attention to the details. And if you rush it, you're going to pay for it when there's something published in the paper with your name on it, okay, and it's wrong. I imagine it's the same thing as well. What advice would you give to folks that want to get into this field of law? You mean just to get into law in general, go to law school? Exactly. I would probably say, first of all, really think about, is this something you want to do? Right. It's a long journey. Law school is 3 years. Right. Being an attorney is not as glamorous as they make it out to be on television. Of course. Right. There are some perks. It's a lot of work, though, in the beginning. And I think people don't realize sometimes without really thinking through it. So I would say be open-minded, really think about what you want to do. But I would say a law school education honestly serves everyone very well, whether you end up going into law or not. There are a million things you can do with your law degree. It doesn't necessarily require you being a lawyer. But I would say be open-minded, do a little bit of research first, but you got to love what you do, even when you go to any kind of grad school. Right. Right. So, and that's an expensive thing to decide after the first year. Maybe I don't want to do law school. It's a little bit of an expensive, 1 year to think that through. So I would kind of think it through beforehand. Maybe talk to some lawyers. I tell people do informational interviews. Don't talk to the grumpy ones because they may tell you don't do it. Right. I think being a lawyer is great, but I really think legal education is something, like I said, could best serve anyone and everyone in any profession. Yeah, you said something that I think is really interesting and so spot on. And I look at the same thing with journalism as well. There's so many tentacles to it. There's so many things you can do. And when people it said to me, when I'm mentoring somebody or talking to someone about it, well, isn't journalism a dying field? I said, no, it's not. Communication is huge now. And whether you're doing it in the print side or whether you're doing it on broadcast TV or whatever the case may be, we better know how to communicate. And journalists don't know how to communicate. And there's a lot of opportunities for them, whether they're doing it as a newspaper or they're working for a chief of staff or whatever the case may be. And just like you said, same with law. There's so many things you can go into. And I think that's one of the things that keep your mind open. What can our listeners do to support your efforts at T-School or anything else you're doing?
Right. So you can check it out. It's tschool.law. I'm taking over the .law domain. Okay. tschool.law. No, check it out. Spread the word. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm always happy to talk to anyone if they are interested. Even if you're not in law school yet and you're interested, I talk to a lot of people who are their last year of college and they have questions, and even law students. I've actually fostered a lot of strong mentoring relationships with students that used to work for me. When I used to work for a prior bar prep company, I would have a lot of student reps. I just felt like I started to give them a lot of advice. So I now happily, if you ask for it, I don't give unsolicited advice, but if you ask for it, I will give you the honest truth, things I wish people would have told me when I started this journey.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah, and that what you said is just so spot on. It's what we wish we would have known when we were. How come no one taught me that? And we see that a lot in the K-12 area. And I spent time at San Diego Unified, and one of the things that I think is fascinating to me is teaching relevant curriculum. What a shock, right? And why didn't they teach me that? That's what I really need to know. Obviously, you just said it right there. I think that's really critical. All right, we're going to do a little bit of a shift over here. So you enjoyed your experience at the University of Georgia, correct?
I loved my experience at University of Georgia.
What'd you like most about it?
Everything.
Right.
I know people in California love their schools, but I have to tell you, there really is no place that I have been to, and I've been to a lot of campuses, through teaching law students and bar prep, and I have yet to see a campus as beautiful and as vast and as big as the one in Athens, Georgia. It's the entire town, right? The whole town is the campus, and you're just not going to come across that, unless you're in the South, in particular Athens.
So I went to school at Ole Miss for a while, and which is in Oxford, Mississippi, which is very similar to Athens. The whole town is all Ole Miss. Ole Miss is part of the SEC, which plays you folks all the time. Have you ever been to Oxford?
I have never been to Oxford, but I have heard that it is a very fun town.
It is an unbelievable town. And you will disagree with this because the best tailgating in the world is at the Grove, at Ole Miss's campus. And you're going, no, it's not. It's at the
I will say,
it's the Florida-Georgia game.
It's probably in the top 3 at the Grove.
Yeah.
But I mean, ESPN has dubbed Georgia as being the number 1 tailgating spot for many years.
Okay.
But I have heard Grove is definitely in the mix as being up there as one of the best.
It is. You need to go to a game at Ole Miss, I think, and preferably an Ole Miss Georgia game. And
I have been to Ole Miss Georgia game, but never in Oxford.
Yeah, do one in Oxford. I think you will really enjoy that, and so forth. What a delight chatting with you, Tara. What else can we do to support your efforts?
Yes. So I am president of the University of Georgia alumni chapter in San Diego. We're technically San Diego, Riverside, and Imperial counties. And I'm very excited to tell you guys that we officially endowed a scholarship that is going to benefit someone from right here in San Diego that goes to the University of Georgia. We finally crossed, I don't want to call it the finish line, but the start line for endowment. And so now we're going to be able to start giving out the scholarship. And it would be great if people would love to contribute because you're going to be helping someone that's from right here in San Diego. If you just go to Google or any search engine, you type in San Diego Alumni Chapter, the first link pretty much comes up, and you just go on there and you click, donate to the San Diego Scholarship Chapter Fund. If you do that, you're going to be benefiting someone from right here in San Diego that is smart enough to go to the best public university in the country, University of Georgia.
Well, listen, that's a great testament for UGA, and congratulations on you doing that endowment. And there's nothing better than to make sure you got somebody taken care of for college. And yeah, it's a great school, and I love the schools in the South for 75 different reasons. It's a great experience, and as you were talking about too, for so many different reasons, and you make lifelong friends. I know that.
Lifelong friends.
Lifelong friends forever.
I mean, it is a bucket list item, I will say, to go to an SEC game.
Yes.
Right. Georgia,
yes.
Florida is pretty epic. I've heard the Grove is, obviously Athens, but just going and experiencing it, even if you're not a college football fan, it is bucket list item.
You will be a college football fan if you go to one of those
That's
games.
right.
Tara, thank you. So good seeing you again. Thank you for coming in, and we hope to have you back on.
Thank you. Have a great day. Thank you, everyone.
You bet it, Tara. Shah, she is the CEO and founder of T-School. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. You've been listening to Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing great things to San Diego for over 60 years. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.